This video was brought to you by nobody. Okay, so before I start this video off, you're probably asking well, what is NAFTA anyway? Well, the North American Trade Free Agreement, or NAFTA for short, was designed to promote trade between the United States, Canada, and Mexico. The agreement eliminated most tariffs on trade between these countries, and ever since it went into effect on the 1st of January 1994. Tariffs particularly related to textiles, agriculture, and automobiles were gradually phased out between the 1st of January, the date of effect, and in 2008 of the same date. Now, NAFTA's purpose was to encourage economic activity among North America's economic powers. Well, that worked, but there's a slight catch. In fact, the US is causing Mexico to literally drown in oily, deep fat fried foods, such as processed commodities and products, and that includes companies like McDonald's, KFC, Coke, and Pepsi. How did NAFTA even trigger this in the first place? Ever since NAFTA's initiation, the attraction of foreign direct investment, or FDI for short, coupled with the lack of Mexican government intervention, had inevitably served as catalyst for the increased, or should I say, weakened nutritional intake, transitioning from whole foods to nutritionally sparse high-fat foods. And plus, due to NAFTA's fairly liberal investment guidelines, foreign direct investment from the United States had accelerated incredibly within the food processing industry. And we can clearly see this. Take a look at this. The United States alone in 1987 invested $210 million per year into the Mexican food industry. That might seem quite a lot on its own, right? But while in 1993, that number had drastically increased to $5.3 billion a year. That is literally a 25-fold increase. I mean, try folding a piece of paper 25 times, and that's basically 25 times more than the first fold you started off with, if you get my drift. Not to mention the fact that 3/4 of all foreign direct investment goes into the food processing industry. Kind of like Mexico being one big Coke bottling plant, if you think about it. And NAFTA facilitated multinational alliances with domestic Mexican companies, which naturally resulted in a large explosion like growth of supermarket chains, convenience stores, and processed commodities being sold left and right, which caused an increase in processed foods being sold from 5 to 10% between 1995 and 2003. Under a decade of this NAFTA agreement, Mexico has seen food retail in the country dominated by large chain supermarkets and convenience shopping, as well as McDonald's and other fast food chains, with almost 55% of the market share, while the smaller tiendas are currently losing within the industry, with many being used as outlets for larger companies to sell their products to a poorer community. So it doesn't matter whether you're in Mexico City or in the middle of a jungle in the Yucatan Peninsula, you're bound to find a KFC regardless. And for any of those wondering, tiendas are usually a small, normally family-owned business, both found in urbanized and rural communities, that usually sell drinks, meat, and produce, usually sold from the same family-owned farm or community source, essentially being whole foods. And due to the predominance of tiendas in rural towns and villages, large companies using them as outlets have caused an increase in consumption of processed foods within both urban and rural settings. And with the increase in exports of corn, soybeans, sugar, snack food, and meat products, the U.S. has been contributed to altering the food system from agricultural to industrial. Corn mainly being used to produce cornstarch, which is like every corporation's favorite alternative to sugar since Hawaii was annexed. And the U.S. has been increasing its presence within the country very noticeably. I mean, this is really nothing new, in fact, as Samoa, American Samoa, Hawaii, Puerto Rico, and Guam have been facing this exact problem for decades now. And I have to say, not cool, Uncle Sam. It's very uncool. You'd be thinking if the U.S. is feeding so much fat into Mexico, then surely Mexico must be sending something equally as bad, right? Well, not quite. In fact, quite literally, it is the opposite. It's the opposite, as Mexico exports $4.8 billion in vegetables, such as avocados and tomatoes, And with 4.3 billion in fresh fruit and not to mention another 12 billion in medical machinery, so I guess I'll let you be the one to decide if that's fair or not. In short, or in summary, this entire operation has proven super detrimental to the health, to the general population of Mexico. With the NAFTA, trade policies and market liberalization have utterly reshuffled the food structure in Mexico to one dominated by meat, fat, salt, and sugar. Well, thanks for taking the time out of your day to listen. I guess I'm just gonna go now, so goodbye.